All right. So from yesterday, we covered a couple of things, especially focusing on the analysis section of the eStation application or GMES application, eStation application, which allows you to run a couple of analyses. And it's really the core of the end of the job, that if you have your data after installing the software and you have your data linked to the system, then you can be able to run the analysis. Now, we ended yesterday by talking about a little bit about the workspace, and we're going to look at that in details today. But basically, workspace is, just as it sounds, is basically the component of the analysis tab, which allows you to add a couple of things, including the map itself. You can also be able to add the graphs. You can also be able to add other components within the map and within the graph. And so if you save a workspace, it's equivalent to saving a project in QGIS, saving a project in ArcGIS Pro. Of course, ArcMap, it's the same as saving ArcMap document or the map document for you to be able to navigate and open it later. So in a workspace, you provide a name of the workspace and you save it. You can also be able to pin it. And if you have your workspace saved, the beauty is that next time when you open eStation and after you logging in, you can be able to obtain or reopen your workspace. Either you start analysis from where you'd stopped, or you can be able to extract the information that you intended to extract from the workspace. I've not yet, you can also be able to export and import a workspace. So when you export a workspace, when you export your workspace, you can be able to share it with the people that you're working with or some other people that you're collaborating with. So the section of exporting and importing a workspace is right here down, which later when a colleague shares with you the workspace, you can be able to receive it and be able to rerun the analysis. So we'll touch something on the workspace today in the demo part of the exercise, and that's what I am going to do. So I have my eStation opened here, and I want to, I think I'm already logged in because I can see these tabs. So if you're not logged in, you cannot be able to see this section of your eStation. You cannot see new maps, my maps, new graph, my maps, legends, and so forth. So it's only when you have done this, that's when you can be able to see that. You'll also be able to see what we call my workspace. So this is tagged really to you, okay? So since I've logged in, I'll quickly go to open, make a map, and then make a graph. And after making all this content, then I can be able to do what? I can be able to save my workspace after doing that. Okay. So I'll start by creating a map. So I have my map here. I've already logged in, sir. You're just not seeing it, but I have my workspaces here. So I'm already logged in. It's just not showing my name, but I'm already logged in. So if it wants me to redo it, I can still do it. So I request that the audience allow me to, if you're in the system, the online system, please, you can first follow through what I'm doing, and then later you can start doing it your own by yourself. Of course, the recording is going to be shared. This will allow me be able to navigate through the system quickly. Okay, so start by creating a map. So you click on a new map. I don't want this default workspace to come through, so I'm just gonna close it. So start with a new map. I'm going to put it in the middle here so that I can be able to, all of us can be able to see it. All right. Also, I told you there's a trick here. You see this icon up here, there's sort of an arrow up here. This arrow can allow you to be able to expand your workspace. So if I click here, my workspace is going to be expanded and I can be able to have more room or more space to work through my analysis. So I have that. We push this a bit down, the scale down. Now I'm going to add a map. So I'm going to pick one of the protected areas in Uganda. And in your case, also, you can do the same. You need to add the protected area data in your map. So go to, yes, I can go to Natural Habitat of 2017. Okay, if you're logged in and you're not using the system, kindly you can first log out so that I can be able to have more working bundle to be able to continue with the exercise quite fast. All right, so I'm going to pick one of the protected areas in Uganda, and in this case, I'll work with Maction Falls. I could also work with the one in Greater Virunga here, one of maybe Queen Elizabeth National Park in Uganda. So I come here, I select it. So after selecting it, I have its name is already there. And then I'm going to add the vegetation data. In this case, I just want the MODIS product of NDVI, and I want the one of Africa, and I need the 10-day data. Of course, we have the anomaly part, which I'm going to add later, of NDVI, the Z NDVI, so we'll be able to have that. Also, you can click on this icon to be able to see some information about the data. So this is a 10-day NDVI data. So later, when I'm going to add just this, the JRC, but there are different legends that you can pick from. So I'm going to pick the JRC, or I could also pick the USGS legend for vegetation NDVI data. This looks a bit better. So I click on OK. So the product opens. MODIS is a 1 kilometer data, so it might look a bit coarse, but that's okay. So when I finish adding my data, I mask it off so that I don't see all the sections of the data. Of course, just to push this a bit down, I want to see the time period of my data so that I specify the particular year of the data. So these are 10 days. So being a 10-day, I can merge it based on the particular year, and say from January. I only want data from January 01 up to same year, up to December 31st. So I strictly want data for that period. And as I told you earlier, let me try this and see whether it works. You can be able to play a time series over your data. So you simply click on this, and then it will be able to show you the time series of this data over time. And to make it more interesting, you can unhide some of these sections so that the data will be loading as you see through that time period. Okay. So since you have that kind of data, then yeah, you can also unlink. You can also unlink this the play from. Let me just push this a bit here. You can also unlink the timeline from other map windows if you want to, but for now I'll just keep it default. So I have this there. Now, next, I want to do a couple of things. I want to stop this play. I want to create another graph, another map. And in this case, I want to look at the anomaly of NDVI for this season. So what I do, I need to change this to JRC probably. This might look a bit better. It makes more sense. All right. So now that I have that, I can create a new map. But in this map now, what I need is the anomaly. So what I do is I go to other layers and I go to natural habitats. I add another. So since they're linked, it will automatically zoom to Marxian falls, just like in the previous map. Okay. So I select Marxian falls, and then I add NDVI products. But in this case, now I want the anomaly, which is the Z, yeah? So I need the Z score legend. And I add that product and I unmask it from my map. So remember, I've linked the maps. So you can unlink by clicking on this section if you don't want them to be linked. Of course, I want to turn on this. And when you turn on this, you can also be able to modify certain sections. So you double click. Of course, these names are already coded. So you'll see that if you remove certain names, then you may not be able to see all the content if you want to. So this is beautiful. I've made my data. As you can see, this is a MODIS. It's a 10-day NDVI. And this is the Z NDVI. Z NDVI means anomaly or the Z score data in this case. So I organize my map a little bit. I make it visible for you. For my case, for you, probably you're seeing the whole thing, but my Zoom is blocking certain section of my data, so I may not be able to see everything. Let me also try and push it up here. Better. Maybe this corner there. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so I double click to add the disclaimer. I just call it the GMES Training. GMES Training. As my disclaimer, I save. You can also modify the names, make it maybe in a different color. If you want to, you select it and change the color to maybe that. If you want to increase, make it bold. You have select it, you make it bold. Can underline, make it italic. You can also grow the text by clicking on this and make it or reduce the size of the text. You can also, in case you want to use, you know a little bit of HTML, you can bring in your HTML code and then add it there. So I'm going to just save that and also double click this, give it GMES Training. So depending on the theme of what you're doing, you can always select this, grow the text a bit. I think that size should be okay. Save this and have that. Now, the other interesting thing I want to do is I have a logo for Makerere University, and I want to add it in my in the list of the logos. Now, when you double click, you'll probably see that the logos, don't know whether it takes a PNG or a JPEG. I need to, sorry, I need to find out whether it uses a PNG or it uses a different thing altogether. So I'm going to try and figure this out under the adding logos, whereby I can be able to modify my objects or logos at a later stage. So when you double click, let me see. I need to see, okay. So let me first just, in the meantime, just add a logo of African Union in the list of the logos that are already available. Should be able to have the logos menu somewhere to add them, but I'll also show you where these objects are sitting within your software. Okay, now I see this is an online platform. So unless I'm using my offline, that's when I can be able to add the logos automatically. But I'll show you how you can add your logos using the offline system, the one that you have in your computer. So to add a logo, you double click on the list of available logos down here, and then you can add it. To remove a logo from the list, you simply go on the upper, under the selected logo, you double click on it to remove it. Even when you put your cursor, you'll be able to read the details of what you need to do. So double clicking it makes it go up. So this shows you that this is the logos that are available. You can swap them if you want to. You first remove and then you put it back. Yeah. So save that. I push this one here. Also bring this a bit down here, and then push this a little bit there. Okay. You know, you can also hide this time series timeline by clicking on this icon. There's an icon down here. You'll be able to see it. So you can hide them. And when you hide them, then you can be very sure that your map is actually positioning very well the content of your map. Okay. This is going to be more like a try and error until you get the right position of these items, yeah? Because the first time you made, when you export the map, you'll probably see that the map is not well aligned very well. Most of the things are merging together. So let me just test with this by exporting a PNG, and I just look at how it's going to look. So as you can see, my logos are in the middle of the products. So if I realize that is the case, I can then modify the positions of this logo as I move forward. Yeah. All right. So next, what I need to do is to look at the time series and try to view this in a chart. Okay. So I come here, I go to the new chart, and I am going to use two charts. For the Z score, I'm going to use the ranking. Okay. And then I'm going to use the matrix. Remember, we are doing the vegetation analysis in this example to look at the vegetation condition. And I want to see the aspects of seasonality in this kind of analysis that I'm trying to do. So to add these charts, I'm going to start with the seasonal chart. The seasonal chart is normally showed either you can use the profile or you can use the matrix. So either of that can work to show you the seasonality, but the profile allows you to add even more layers. For example, you can add temperature and precipitation, all of them in one. Okay, and I'm going to show you how that is done and how it's better. So let me first start with, let me start with the profile. So in the profile, I want to look at the NDVI for MODIS of the 10 days. So it's NDVI 10 day, not NDVI. So we have NDVI D. I want this first one, the spot V. And I scroll. Now I scroll down and I select the years available. Of course, this is an online system, so the data is up to date. So I can pick a couple of years here. And I first start with this and I say, get the time series. So it's saying the polygon is not selected. So I need to select my Maction false in this case. So I get the time series. So that is the time series that I have. Now, when you have this kind of time series, it's showing you a couple of things. So I need to make a few modifications on my time series to improve, to make it look a bit more authentic. So, of course, you can modify a couple of things. So I can click on this to edit my graph properties. The title, I first change the title and call it vegetation monitoring of Queen Elizabeth National Park. So I first start with that, and when I click enter, you can now see what has changed there. So I go step by step to modify things. Now, the thing that I want to modify are these labels. The labels, they have to be the way they are, but they're crowding and the fonts are huge. So I probably need to reduce the fonts if I want to. So I click on this arrow just for me to look at the things down. Now, The legend fonts are these fonts. So I can change the legend font to maybe about maybe 10. Let me see how that changes. Yeah, that probably looks a bit better. They're smaller. And also I can say, okay, I need to also reduce the monthly labels to maybe to be a little bit smaller. So those ones are in the x-axis. So the x-axis font size is now 16. So I also reduce this to maybe 12. And I see how that appears. Okay, so that looks a bit more neat, but also you can change the color of the lines of the X and the Y axis. Now, I scroll down. What else can I do? Can I change this? So you can add a subtitle. So let's say time period. I can say time period. Time period 2000. 2000. Then 2023. We close that. So here I don't have a subtitle in the meantime, but I can get it. So if I add it, you'll see that now you should be able to see the subtitle. Where is it? Where are you? Did I say yes? Of course, I've added a subtitle. Okay, I reduced this font size probably a bit so that I can be able to see the subtitle, maybe to about 14. Okay. Now next, you can also modify if you want certain values to be on opposite sides. Those ones you can do them when you're having more than one product. Now we are just dealing with only one product in our profile. Now, as you can see, I have a number of years here that I've selected. So the green line is for it's the one for 2023. Okay. And then this other line, so you can click on the line back and forth to be able to view it back and forth. Okay. So this is different years, and probably you'll see that in this case, we had a very low NDVI. Okay, we had a very low NDVI in this year between this month. So this is 2020. So you could go further and investigate why do we have, why are we having very low NDVI in this year, in this period, in the national park? What could be the reason? Okay. Now, to investigate these reasons, you could say, okay, maybe the reason for this could be the aspect of drought, or there was a fire event. So let's use those two to investigate why in 2020, there was a low, sharp NDVI reduction in the Markshan Falls. Remember, the NDVI shows you the vegetation or the natural growth of that area. So let's add the product and say, okay, let me go to the rainfall. And I go to ThermSat and I look at the 10-day rainfall for this period. And in this case, watch this, yeah? I want you to watch this carefully. Now, the MODIS, or rather the NDVI, is in a line graph, okay? Now, I want the rainfall to be in, what are they called? Boxes? Yeah, bars, yeah? So a bar chart to be added for rainfall. So what I do is I click here under the select product section, I click here. And then instead of, okay, the chart type is already selected as column, but you can always change from column to, my screen is hiding. You can change it from line to column if you want to, but by default, that's selected it as that. And the color might not be very nice for me. So I need a deep blue, a darker blue color, maybe around here, around there. Okay, say okay to change the color of my chart. The line width right now is 0, but you can also increase the line width of the bars. Okay, so that's okay. I close this. So then I need to update my chart. So what I'm trying to do is to investigate what could be the reason for these changes. Now, for the rainfall, I don't want to investigate for each of the years. So I only want to investigate only for this period when we had a sharp reduction in vegetation cover. So what I do is I go to products again. I click on rainfall. And for rainfall, I only select not all the years. I only select year 2020. So that I only investigate rainfall for that particular year. So as you'll probably see, in 2020, there was a sharp reduction in rainfall data. Remember, the rainfall is in green. I need to put NDVI on this other side and rainfall this side so that the chart looks better. So NDVI is in the y-axis 1. Remember, now I have 2, y-axis 1, and we also have y-axis 2. So what I do is NDVI, I want it to be on opposite. So I say true. And when I close this or click anywhere else, now the NDVI is on this other side of the graph. And then I have the rainfall on this other side of the graph. Okay. Now we'll see that actually in this particular period, there was a sharp reduction in NDVI data, showing that the vegetation cover was really, really very low. But also you'll see that the rainfall in that period between that particular part of the month was really low. So with this, you can be able to monitor how the NDVI and the rainfall interaction is happening for this national park. Okay. Next, I want to say, okay, maybe that makes sense. What if I look at the anomaly of rainfall? So I'm going to pick one of the anomalies. Instead of working with, I go to products within the graph here. I say, okay, let me just uncheck. I'm not going to remove it, but I just want to uncheck it. So in this case, I look for anomaly of the rainfall. And anomaly of the rainfall in this case can either be 2. You can have the difference to the long-term mean, or you can have the relative difference to the long-term mean. So that will show you the deviation from the normal. So when I say I pick this, I selected already here. And in this case, yeah, so I just want to look at it on that aspect. So when I update my chart, perfect. Now you'll also see that actually during this period, it could be not really rainfall that has caused this, because yes, we have a deviation of the rainfall in this period, but the higher deviation happened in this month in May, okay, and also in September. But between this period, the deviation was really not that so much. But also, when you look at this anomaly, it's an opposite sort of relationship, that when you have high NDVI, you're having low rainfall, because here we expected, of course, vegetation cover catches up with time, okay? So what could be the reason for this? So I can try and add another product. In this case, I can go to the fire, okay? So you realize that what we are doing is based on scientific knowledge. So you first need to know exactly scientifically what could be so you want to first understand scientifically what could be the reasons in terms of the relationship between the park conditions versus yeah. You want to see the condition of the park, but you need to know which kind of data sets do you really use. Okay, so you have to first understand that scientific background before you pick the data sets from here. So in this case, I want to just look at the fire data. So I look at the MODIS, and the MODIS that I want is also for the 10 days, and it's from the spot data. So when I click on the MODIS data, I want it to be not column, but I want it to be in a line. And the color, I want it to be red. Okay, the program has already figured it out that red could be the best color. So when I close this, I simply update the graph. Remember, I first examine for a long period of time. Okay, I first did the examination for a long period of time. And then I went further and said, you know what, there's something peculiar about this particular year and that particular month. So now I'm trying to investigate exactly what could have happened. And we see the culprit here. We see that fire. Sorry about this. I want to come to products and rather I need to modify my graph and say something true. So NDVI, so here, okay, since there are 3 charts, so it will just keep them all on the same page. Now, do we see any culprit here? Okay, just look at that. So for me, based on my, I know that this period between June or mid-June up to mid-August, the areas are generally dry during these periods. But as you can see, there was a very sharp increase in the fire data events, yeah? So you'll see that actually this sharp reduction in vegetation cover was because of the impact of the fires in this area, okay? All right, so I just want to listen to 1 or 2 speakers I just want us to discuss this. People who manage or who work in the management of the park, I just want you to give us the scenario of exactly what happens in the park whenever there is a ravage of the fire, so that we try to understand what could be the cause and so forth. So I'm going to give us a chance to unmute and a volunteer just to to speak about this from your side? Anyone who wants to volunteer? Just, yeah, Dorothy, please, Dorothy Chirubira, kindly unmute, but also introduce yourself to the audience. We want to get to know you. What do you do? Which institution do you work for? And yeah, and then you give us your discussion. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good
I'm
morning.
actually trying to, I've also put on my video a bit for a short time so that people
Good.
can see who they're talking to. Dorothy Chirumira is my name.
Yes.
I work with the Uganda Wildlife Authority, particularly based in Kivale Conservation Area.
Yeah.
I sit in Kivale National Park. I've worked both in the Savannah parks and the forested parks. I've actually been rotating between Kivale and Lake Moro. So
Yeah.
when it comes to fires, of course, I've been following through this exercise, and it's been very, very interesting because I clearly identify with whatever we are, doing this morning. What happens is that, of course, July, August are peak, like it's a peak of dry season across the entire country. But of course, the savanna parks get more affected when it comes to the dry season. Some of the fires actually come a little earlier. We have 2 fire seasons, but the peak is July, August. We have March, Feb, March, where like this first season is not very intense. So during this first season, we do early burning, which is intentional. We do early burning to prevent intense fires during the extreme dry seasons.
And
Also,
Dorothy,
we do,
yeah, Dorothy, as I chip in, you'll see that in this analysis during this the month you've mentioned, there's a small sharp increase in the fire graph, as you can see in here. Yeah. Please go ahead.
So that actually explains it very well, that in Feb, March, there's usually lower fires because the heat is not that intense. The dry season is not that intense. And therefore, we take advantage of low intensity of the heat to have low fires to control the burning in the July, August. Of course, like I said, July, August is a peak, but we also try to do some early burning in the June, in the month of June. Like you can see, there's also a sharp rise there. We do more early burning, but most of it is in July. And what happens actually in July, why it is sharper, we usually don't do burning, most of the burning, but it's done by, conservation challenges, threats. We have involuntary fires that are sometimes set by cattle keepers or poachers. That's why the fires are extreme. Otherwise, we would not risk doing burning at the peak of the dry season. So that explains why the fires are lower in Feb, March, and they're higher in August. So definitely the NDVI will be very low.
Absolutely.
I mean, considering that, first of all, naturally, the temperatures are too high. So the grass dries naturally, but also we have fires that actually come and eat up the dry grass.
Awesome.
Yeah. I hope that explains it.
This is great. This is great. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else who would want to volunteer and talk about these aspects? Guys, let's not be shy. Please just give your hint what you think. Okay. I see people getting shy. Maybe they are not following. Awesome. Elias, please unmute.
Yes, I am Elias Bojago by name from the Walaita University, Ethiopia.
Yes, sir.
And my background focus on climate change and sustainable agriculture.
Yeah.
I have a little bit in the regarding to this rainfall anomaly and DBI and also active fire.
Yes.
Based on this your slide and the output of the results, I'm able to try some bits. As my scientific, I mean, as my experience and as a scientific background.
Yeah.
And here's there is two, I mean, biomodal rainfall occurrence. The first one is in the March up to the August, and the second was the starting from the August, the August up to the September, I mean. And the correlation with the rainfall anomaly with the NDVI shows that there is the positive correlation, and also rainfall anomaly with the active fire show that the negative correlations. And in the results, I have no more correlation correlation coefficients. However, the graph showed that this.
Yeah, it was interesting for mainly this particular analysis to investigate the reason why there was a reduction in the vegetation cover. So normally we blame climate change as the cause of everything or due to no rainfall, but sometimes actually this is not true, and this is what we can see in this discussion.
Okay. And can I put some justification regarding the second biomodal, the second model, starting the August, the fire occurrence is lower. This is due to the moisture content of the high season received the high rainfall monthly, and the moisture content of the area will go up to the December. So in this case, the active fire shows lower.
Yeah. Okay. So I believe that there will be one of the analysis that we should be able to look at today, and we'll be able to see also the effect of the droughts. I've just used this, but probably if we look at the SPI and investigate it for a long period of time, which we shall do later, you'll also see the impact or the effects of this as we move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So some people might say, you know what, the way this graph is appearing, of course, that is more effort, that is more work. So the way the graph is appearing is not the best that I want. Of course, when you click on export this graph as a PNG, you'll be able to have this graph open here, and it will appear just the way it is appearing the other side. So you may not need to waste a lot of time trying to make a graph from another platform or figuring out from some other thing. So you can, if you still want to do your own, you can click on this and you'll export a CSV file which has the data that you're using to map, and then using this data, you can also be able to make your own maps. Okay, so I'll just do a quick one here. So these are monthly data sets. So just enable. I go to insert a recommended map. And if I pick, let's say, this one, I'm going to modify a couple of things later. So this is a combo graph, and using it, sorry, this may not be the best graph. I need to pick a combo one. Let me widen my presentation a bit so that people can be able to see. So I'm going to select all my data. And then I go to insert, and I just want to insert all charts. And then I come to combo, because with combo, it will allow me to modify each element step by step. So for example, in this example we have the MODIS, I want it to be in a line. And then the term search, I want it to be in the column. And then the MODIS fire, I want it to be in the line. Okay. So I can select, I can say, you know what, I want term search to be secondary, rather MODIS and the fires to be secondary. That may not work, but this is probably better. So I'll just say, okay. So you see, you're going through a lot of tasks to modify this, which might take you a lot of time. So here I want to change this date format. It's not the best. It's too long. So I can go to format these cells, and I can change the format of my date. I leave it at custom, but I want, I don't want the time. I want the years in 2, and I say, okay. So this is probably making a little bit of more sense. I know it is 1 year, so I even don't need the year per se. I just need the month, okay? So I come here, I come to the date, and I pick this one. And when I have that, then I can have my chart here. I can modify the colors, the bars. I can change the sizes of the bars, increase the bar a bit. Come here, and under the fill, the color is okay. Under the border, I can say solid line. And since it is rainfall, I leave it in blue. Also the color, I leave it in blue. And then I can change the width a bit. Oh, sorry, it's changing only for one. So I need to do for the whole of it. Like that. I change this to blue. I change the color of the outline to blue. Then I increase the width a bit to make it more appealing. Yeah. And for the MODIS NDVI, I change it to green line, and probably select that. I decrease the line width a bit to make it more authentic. And then I have the fires. The fires, I make it in red to reflect the burning. I reduce also that. Okay. Then I can have that. Okay. But now, as you can see, you'll need to now start figuring out the scaling. Okay. Which scale are you using and for which data? And the moment you have more than 3 products in a chart, it becomes very, very complex to map it. And yet, when you're here at eStation, everything has been done for you, and you'll actually have your data coming out much, much clearly. Okay, so the choice is yours. What do you prefer? Which is better? Okay, which one is better? So you can modify, remember all these things, and change the colors. For example, for under the products, you can come to, since I want the rainfall thing to be a different color, maybe blue, or I can change the scale to be reflecting what is seen in the graph so that it doesn't confuse people and all that. Okay, so I've showed you how you can export the PNG graph, but also you can be able to export your data in a CSV file and maybe manipulate it in using another software if you want to. Yeah. Sometimes the analysis you're doing from here might go beyond just generating the charts. Maybe you want to model things, you want to do future modeling of the products. Then you can be able now to extract this data and use it in the future model of your data. Yeah, but tidiness and clarity is very important. Don't try to mix so many things in one graph, okay? It becomes very confusing. First, you saw the way I did it. I first selected for a long period of time, and then I started now, I said, okay, there's something peculiar about this particular year. Then you go ahead and investigate that year. And through that, it makes your analysis a little bit more tidy, more clear, but also more organized. And the people who are going to look at your products to interpret your map in the future will actually understand the things that you've done. Okay. Now, I could say, you know what, my project or my study is my project is really to analyze different areas. I'm not only looking at Queen Elizabeth National Park. So what I do is I say, okay, so what happened in one of the parks in, today I want to go to Eritrea. Where is Eritrea? Let me first add my admin boundary for the countries. And it's going to help me pick out Eritrea quickly. So I have the boundaries for the countries coming through, I hope. Okay, nice. So here I am going to go to Eritrea. I see a couple of parks there. So let me examine this park here. It's called Nakfa Park. So if I click on it, remember I have linked my products. So this is what happens in Eritrea. So for Eritrea, of course, the fire products is 0. I don't know probably why. So there are no active fires. In other words, the place is normally dry. So the vegetation cover is normally, as a result, the variation is due to the rainfall and all that. But also you'll see that rainfall response, okay, vegetation or NDVI response to rainfall is always what we call the lag response, whereby if something is high, if rainfall is high, it will take NDVI a couple of days to shoot to high. Okay, it's not going to be instant, okay, that you experience high NDVI because of the high rainfall yesterday. So when you're doing modeling for those Rhoda and a couple of people who are doing modeling, please take that in mind. There's no direct correlation between rainfall and temperature and an NDVI at instant. Remember, you need to consider that time lag in between the increase in rainfall and how the response in NDVI value will vary over time. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Next is we could say, okay, can somebody in the audience suggest maybe an area of interest that you want us to examine? Just unmute and tell us which area you'd prefer us to share or to look at.
Hello, Thomas.
Yes, please.
Kidepo Valley National Park.
Kidepo Valley National Park is in up. Kindly guide me where it is.
It is in northeastern part of Uganda.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know where Kidepo is. So it's around here.
Yes, yes.
Kidepo Valley. Okay, this is it. So when I click on Kidepo Valley, we see a very interesting trend. It's not the same as it's not the same as the one in Queen Elizabeth National Park. So there's a little bit of variation, but we see that Kidepo is experiencing, of course, positive rainfall anomaly. So anomaly doesn't mean everything is bad. Anomaly means, okay, in terms of rainfall, the positive anomaly shows an increase in rainfall. Of course, it's still bad because it can cause floodings and all that, but we generally have this positive relationship between rainfall and NDVI in this case. We also have some bit of fire events, but the fire event period is very, very different. So it starts from around December and it extends up to around mid-Jan, okay? So this is really interesting in the eastern part of the country that you'll see that fire events are very severe from December up to, it starts from around mid-December up to mid-Jan. So that is how that appears. And you'll see that the vegetation cover after that period, this is a very interesting graph. If I was to discuss it in a manuscript, it would be interesting. So you'll see that after this ravage of the fire from December, the NDVI started dropping and it continued dropping up to January and then started climbing later after the fire has subsided a bit, so that it now started climbing up. And so this is also a very interesting area that you can do analysis on. Okay, perfect. So the next graph that I want to generate is the graph that looks at the seasonality or the phenology of a park, of a national park. And we shall still keep with Kidepo National Park as our area of interest so that we can be able to study it further. Okay. Okay, so let's still keep Kidepo National Park as our reference park. To our audience from other countries, please feel free to suggest, okay, we'll do this analysis for Maze National Park from Elias, so that we look at that. And then we have also Meru National Park in Kenya. That is from Lewis. So we'll also test a couple of parks as we move on. So the other chart that I want to add is the chart for looking at this phenology or the seasonality of the national park. So in this case, we shall be using the matrix. So we shall be using the matrix. So I click on the matrix after clicking on the new graph. And then I look at, I'm going to work with the FAPA or leaf area index, any of that I feel I'm comfortable working with. So in this case, let me try the FAPA. And I'm not looking at the standardized FAPA. This is Africa 1 degrees. This is very coarse, 10 days FAPA from Modis. Okay. So now for matrix graph, you work with one product or one sub-product at a time. You can't put rainfall and the rest to that. You can only combine graphs when you're looking at you can combine sub-products from different categories using profile. So profile allows you to do, it's more open for analysis, especially when you're doing comparison of different data products together and investigate the cause of certain events in one or another. So for the matrix, we are going to pick the FAPA, that is analyzing seasonality. But FAPA may not be the best. I don't think so. So let me pick another vegetation product. I could work with ProbaV, but I could work with ProbaV. So these are things you make scientific judgment about which product is better. Remember, I did a presentation to show you what each of these products does and what you can use for monitoring ABCD. For the GRC WSI HP is normally we can use it to monitor the pastures or the rangelands, yeah? So you can monitor the crops, but also you can monitor the pastures, okay? So I could try and see if I can work with the pasture data to look at the condition of the park, the seasonality, and how our animals survive from all that. But it's not very good. It's good for ranking. I don't think it's good for this, but it's okay. Let me first start with my first objective, to monitor the seasons, and then I'll come for that later. So I'll look at the 10-day NDVI data. So looking at the 10 days, you could work with annual data, okay? You can say, you know what, I want annual data. I don't need monthly, okay? But you can also decide that, you know what, no, I just, I need the 10-day because the resolution, the time period, the temporal resolution is higher for 10 days other than looking at monthly. And so if you have data which is available for you in the 10-day period, you rather work with it other than thinking about working with the data monthly and annually, okay? Because in the 10-day period, there's a lot of events that could have occurred other than when you combine for the whole month. But I mean, I leave that to you to make a decision on what you think is better to work with, yeah? So I need that 10-day and I need the GRC NDVI value, rather color scheme or the legend. And I'll just pick a couple of years for this analysis. I don't want to pick too much. So I'll pick 2023. And then I go a little bit further up to 2020. You can also pick, remember Modis data starts from year 2000, rather 2002. So you can do that for all those years, but I don't want to pick for so many years for now. But I could also just say, you know what, from 2020, I keep jumping years, and then I go to 2010, and then I go to the first year, okay? Or I could use a 2-time interval to do this, okay? Yeah, Pongu, you cannot use your offline one because right now you need a lot of data. Okay, the data sets we're working with are available in the online platform. So just follow through and then you should be able to do this at a later stage with the online when you have internet connection. Thank you. Okay, so I've picked for a couple of, I picked 2020, 2010, and 2002 for my analysis. So depending on your objective, you can pick what you feel is usable for you. So I'll just get the time series. So it's opening a new graph for me. And I'm going to bring this graph a little bit nearer so that I want to put it behind this one so that our focus is not taken up with this. So we get a very, very interesting time series here. You could also say all the available years. Maybe let me do that. All the available years. And then we narrow down later to what we feel is better. So phenology looks at the leafing, okay? When the leaves are growing from the plants. It looks at flowering and other aspects. So in this case, we are only focusing on the leaf, okay? So we want to see when does the leafing start and when does the leafing stop. And in terms of the leafing here, we are interested in looking at the higher value of NDVI. So remember, the higher value of NDVI shows the higher greenness of the vegetation, but also the values shows you the different vegetation types inside the forest. Then the last part of NDVI, what it indicates is also the maturity of the leaves. Remember, the leaves can be very tender, so they have a very bright reflection of green. So the NDVI value might be shooting higher for that particular period. Yeah. Now, for this, the season will clearly show you when the greenness is very high and for which particular month is that happening. And as you can see, every box here, remember we're looking at 10 days and for every year. So probably the best thing I can do is to earmark the interesting years, yeah? And then I explain step by step. So we'll start with 2002. So we'll leave 2002 and probably uncheck 2001 because it starts around October, December. So then the other interesting year that I see, okay, before I uncheck this, I want us to learn something here that natural ecosystems, the way they operate or the way God has created or Allah has created our natural environment is very interesting, that events kind of try to repeat themselves. When we look at them with our eye, we may not really we may not be able to track or monitor how events are changing, but with the Earth observation data and some of these tools, we can see very interesting patterns of how things happen. So you'll see that in 2001, 2002, there was more like a similar pattern. And then in 2003, things changed a little bit. And then the pattern sort of repeated itself in 2004. Then in 2005, we see there's some repetition of the pattern of 2003. And then later 2006, also there was that pattern sort of. So when you start looking at some of this, you'll start seeing that actually you can tell how tomorrow or next year is going to likely appear based on what you have today. And that's why the modeling or simulations are, people are now able to create some of this because they're using the current knowledge to train what is in the future. So you train your mind to actually start thinking that, okay, if I have farmers that are under my care and their interest is to really see that the crops grow, but also the animals in the park can be able to survive. If you have any plan or funding or budgeting to do, you can look at how the previous years happened, and you probably, and also the other previous years has happened, and then you can be able to plan better for how the future is going to be, because there's a way the patterns keep repeating themselves. Yeah. But also we see that in terms of this analysis, for Kidepo National Park, remember we are still in Kidepo National Park, we shall change to other parks. We'll see that there is nearly one season. It's a long season, but nearly one. And this is what happens in the Karamoja region of Uganda, which is a semi-arid area, that we have this close to one season, but it's a longer one compared to if, for example, right now, we change to, we could try and look at another park, let's say the one in Makshan Falls. For my colleagues in Kenya and Ethiopia, we are going to examine your park as well, so that you start appreciating. So this varies a little bit when you look at the Makshan Falls. The Makshan Falls is also close to the northern part of the region, which also experiencing close to one season. But let me go to Queen Elizabeth National Park. We'll probably see maybe something different. So let's see what happens. All right. So you'll see that the Queen Elizabeth National Park, which is in the southwest part of the country, is really showing a different pattern. So we see that here, if you look at the legend, this color and these are high NDVIs. Yeah, NDVI values showing that the vegetation growth is really, really high. Now, you'll see that around this month of September and going ahead, we don't have any light green anywhere. We could also change maybe to another, okay, go to products here. I want to change maybe to this other legend. And I see, yeah, it's similar. It's just similar. Maybe the one of USGS, do we see any change? Okay, that scale is very different, so there's no any way it can be the same. Let me try the custom one and see. I'm just testing, yeah. Okay, this is a bit more cost because the values are really few. So you also need to make sure that you verify your outputs. But normally the GRC, because the data sets are really, this is a program of GMES and Africa, which is an EU project. So they try to come to make these products more similar to that. So you'll see that we have generally 2 seasons, which span, we have this season, which starts from around mid-March, and it goes to about mid-June. And then we have another one, which is dark, from about September up to about December for those months. But you'll see that in this month, for certain years, okay, remember this is a matrix. So years versus month. So you're looking at for different years and the month, how is things progressing? And through this, you can look at that in this year, there was a very low NDVI in year 2020. And we investigated that for what? For Queen Elizabeth National Park. We could also change to Lake Mburo. And also I need to check on the chart so that I pick the year, the section, the places that our colleagues advised. So we shall start with Meru Park in Kenya. Meru National Park in Kenya. And then examine the Meru Park in Kenya. So the person in Kenya, please, you need to advise me where Meru is so that we go and get it quickly. Can you unmute, sir? Meru.
Okay, it's around the middle, around the Mount Kenya area, just to the east.
East, to the east. It's a small one.
It's quite
So
large.
I have Mount Kenya here.
Now go to the east.
Okay.
By the larger one.
Yeah, I got it. It's this one. Thank you. So let's look at Meru and try to examine the seasonality in Meru. Meru has a very nice and interesting pattern. Okay. So first, it also has 2 seasons. When you look at this part, don't think so hard. It's just a continuation of this section. Okay. So it's a continuation of the second season, but we'll see that the seasons or the second seasons start a little bit late compared to Uganda. So Uganda starts around September, but here it starts around March. And Uganda ends in December, but we see that the season stretches to about January, the second season, but it generally experiences also 2 seasons. Of course, Kenya experiences a little bit very low NDVI values during their long dry spell or dry season, as you'll probably see. Was this? Lewis, can you give more highlight to this? I could also do this for the other chart and then give you so that you can expound a little bit more on this subject. I'm going to also show you the other chart for Meru, where we are looking at the fire. Yes, we are looking at the fire and other components in as far as that area is concerned. Okay, Lewis, can you unmute and maybe tell us something interesting that you're seeing here and how that relates to what is in the ground? So maybe for me to explain to you, Lewis, before you come, is that you'll see that the rainfall is having more, there's no direct correlation between that, because here we have high rainfall values, but here they are low and yet the NVVI is shooting so high. And then we got a very reduced NDVI here. And then it's not even related with the fires. So that is one interesting thing. But also in terms of seasonality, we'll see that the seasons there are 2 seasons. One starts in March, around mid-March, and ends in around mid-June. And then the other one starts a little bit very late. So you have a long stretch from July to mid-October. That's when another rain season starts coming through. So Lewis, kindly proceed.
Well, okay. Hello, my name is Monda.
Yes, first introduce yourself very well so that we get to know you, sir.
Yes, my name is Lewis Mwenda, and I work as a monitoring and evaluation officer in the reforestation sector. So I'm I've been in the wildlife sector for some time, but right now I'm in the forestry sector.
Awesome.
So I suggested Meru because I knew how peculiar it is.
Yeah, it's really, really
Yeah.
very peculiar, very interesting.
Yeah. So there is a lot of variables within the ecosystem. First of all, it's not quite we can say really it's a grassland. It's a savanna park.
Yeah.
It's more of a shrubland, forested. That is why it is a very I think it's why the rainfall does not have a direct effect on the vegetation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But now there is issues to do with the migration of animals.
Ah,
Yeah, so sometimes the animals, and it's mostly elephants, you know, the elephants consume a lot. So sometimes
exactly.
they move from the larger Savo and the surrounding parks into the park especially during the dry season.
Mm,
And also, you see the time between June,
yeah,
between May and September, and May to August.
yeah.
We don't have much rainfall, but it's always cold. It's
Interesting.
very cold. So that is why I think it's the effect of the rainfall. The rainfall does not have a direct effect on the
Wow,
vegetation.
wow, wow. Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you for the good work you're doing. Yeah, we hopefully believe that this will be helpful, but also we shall have a training on forest monitoring and assessment, which will come later during the year. I hope you'll also benefit more since now you've moved from the rangelands into the forest sector. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
please.
all in all, the same tool does the same thing. All you need is the data, but also for the forest sector, we have more other tools which looks at the alerts, uh, include maybe deforestation alert or degradation alert due to fires and all that. So I believe you'll also benefit a lot because we'll touch on some of those tools, which is important, of course, to the people who do park management or monitoring the condition of the park and even the research communities. So they will definitely benefit from that as well.
That's
Awesome.
nice. I'll be able to-
All right. Okay. So next, I'm going to test another park, and then we examine that together. And this was suggested by Elias. Elias Dado, you suggested Maze National Park in Ethiopia. Okay, so you said it's in the southern part. I'll try to locate it. If I fail, kindly come on board, and because you'll still give us a reason why you selected it. It's called Maze. Elias, can you come on board?
Yes.
Kindly first help me get the park
Okay, go to up.
up. Did you say up or near where I am?
Please zoom it.
Yeah, zooming may be helpful, but I need to first know where it is. Is it on the upper, the northern part or the south?
No, southern part, southern area.
Okay. So is it around here?
Yeah.
Maze. Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, you got.
Yeah. So this is Maze. Now, my quick description or explanation of this is that definitely we see, of course, generally high rainfalls experienced in this area. We have just a couple of few years that experience a low, or rather few months that exhibit low rainfall. But generally the rainfall is high, And also the NDVI values are generally high between the month of mid-March up to about mid-October, or from around October, but mid-October. And the NDVI values steadily is high between this month, especially for this particular year. We could also say, okay, can we just first examine for other periods and see, maybe, let's see, earlier 2022, and see maybe certain patterns are a bit different. Yeah. So generally for all those years, it's more like similar. Of course, the deviation in the rainfall is a bit different. Okay. We see that for 2002, we had a little bit more bars below zero. So, which were a little bit lower, below zero. But generally, the fire events are starting from the month of November or mid-November going towards January. So generally, the area doesn't experience a lot of fires along during the beginning and towards, it only experiences these fires towards the end of the year. But as you can see, the NDVI is generally steady between this month and that. And for year 2002, we see there was a very low NDVI value, and this could be explained. It cannot be explained by the aspect of the fires, because this was not very high, but we see there was a sharp fire event, and this fire event is related to this NDVI reduction to a large extent. And also in terms of seasonality, Elias, you'll see that the seasons, there's generally one season throughout the year in this PAC region, and it starts from around mid-April, and it goes straight up to about mid-November. So there's a big block of greenness for this one long season in this area. So Elias, you can give more explanation on the ground. What could be the reason for this, sir?
Yes.
Yes, Elias.
I think it's there is more complicated dynamics related with the climate.
Elias, kindly first introduce yourself. Which country do you come from? What institution do you? Yeah.
Okay,
You know,
this is the
also,
second time
yeah,
when
this is also part of networking. So yeah, it's important that we get to know you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you remember the first time I introduced myself.
Yeah.
This is the second time.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Elias Bojago from Walaita Sodo University, Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And I'm academic staff at the environmental science.
Mm.
And my specialty mainly focus on the climate change and the sustainable agriculture.
Yeah.
So I have a little justification regarding this, the Maze Park.
Mm.
As the ground tools, the area receive only one, that means monomodal rainfall seasonality.
Yeah.
Due to the intertropical convergence zone.
Mm.
So this graph highly show the correct, or what, the nearly to the truth of the area.
Yeah.
So the reason behind, I think, seeks the more analysis to give the justification and to conclude.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Elias,
Yes.
you need to tell us more. What really happens in the ground? What normally happens in the ground, sir?
The area is also protected area, and there is also the elevation factor is also there.
Yeah.
And also near to that park, the artificial lake. That means the hydraulic dam made the artificial lake. And I hope I think the wind case also make the December for the more vulnerable to the active fire.
Yeah. It's very windy during those periods.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. Awesome. Thank you so much, Elias. This was very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. This is interesting. Yeah.
Awesome. Faraja. Okay, Faraja.
Hello.
You want
Hello,
me
sir.
to go to which park is this? Virunga.
First.
Okay, so Virunga, it will not be very different from the Queen Elizabeth, of course, because they share the same ecology.
Yeah.
So Virunga should be, yes. Is that the one you want me? Because I know there are very many, but is that one the one you want us to monitor?
Yeah, of course. I think that one is on the side of DRC.
Okay, so let me just change the product to the anomaly of the rainfall, because the one I have selected seem not to, it's too crowded. Relative difference to long-term mean. Just want the, yeah. Now, to all our audience, I'll tell you that some of the things we are testing are not all to say that it's a perfect, it's an investigative research, okay? It's something you keep investigating different data sets and relate it to the field knowledge that you have, and that is the strength that you really have. So don't think that the people who develop these tools know everything about what is in the ground. A lot of things vary, but then you who is in the ground, can you be able to use these tools, and does it talk the same talk what is in the ground? So you need to keep looking at different data sets and saying, okay, I think based on what is in the ground, ThermSat gives me a better output compared to CHAPS, because CHAPS seem to be over. Remember, these are estimated products of. So don't say that they are perfect. Actually, if you have rainfall records for your region or for the park, you probably have a better, if you have, let's say, a station, the rainfall station that picks data, and you know it's always working, you're always recalibrating it, you're making sure everything is running fine, then you probably have a better output or products than even the estimated climate. But what we are saying is that Earth observation is very supportive, because if you see that this product works better for your country, then you can actually you can analyze or assess the different areas after using, after proving that actually this product is better. So Elias, rather not Elias, Faraja, good to see you.
Yes,
I want to just first give my hints on what I see in this analysis. We will see that, one, we have a lot of fire events in this area, and you'll tell us what could be the reason for this. As you can see, there are so many peaks here. We have one peak here. We have second, third, and fourth fire events in this area. And so then also we see that NDVI basically keep varying, but there are generally 2 clear seasons, okay? Very, very clear season. We have this season which starts from around Feb and it ends at around, let's say, June, okay? And then another one starts immediately after a very short period of time. It starts from the month of August and then shoots down. This is not the best graph to explain seasonality. The best graph to explain the seasonality is the ranking, or the matrix rather. So you'll see that in this matrix, we shall definitely see that this area is generally green, generally very green. We only have minor spikes in 2018, 17, and also these 2 years, but generally the area is green, okay? There's really, really green areas in this area, and the seasons seem to be the same. Of course, just in here, we see a little bit of a sharp difference, a very short one actually, very short, but generally this is. But also, Faraja, you'll see that
Yes, sir.
in the earlier, let's say from 2016 going back to 2000, we had a clear one season. But later, the second season has started cropping from around year 2018 and above. So you see there's a split here. There's this part, and then there's this part here, which earlier down here were not there, okay? So I'm wondering what is going on. Why is there? It's not so significant. It's very minor, but now we see there is a continuous trend from around 2018. We are experiencing this more like an in situ second season. And I'm going to tell you, if I try 2014, let's say 2013, you'll see that there's one period. And actually in 2007, it was totally green. So let me just change that before you jump in to explain. So in 2007, let me remove 2020, because let me keep it, because we want to see that variation. Why is this cropping up? So we'll see that earlier. So look at this, very interesting. So we see that earlier here, this darker green, we're seeing generally green, the greenness was generally continuous, okay? There was a variation, but not so much. Of course, the area didn't have high NDVI values. It means, what does that mean? That means there was more of shrublands and grass and herbaceous vegetation. Now, in 2000, which is this lighter green, 2002, interestingly, there are now 2 seasons. There's a sharp season here, and then there's a very short low NDVI value, which is the low dry season, a very short dry season, and then this one shoots again. But initially, this was more or less the same. There was very little variation. And also we see that this, in 2007, there was this very sharp fire event. I know you may not be able to explain that because the years have passed, but we see that the fire events are, of course, there, but very minor in 2022, rather. So you'll see that those minor, but now what I want us to understand, and let me just first switch off the fires a bit and try to explain this seasonality part which is coming through. For me, it's very interesting. What could be the reason for this? So let me just remove the fire so that doesn't crowd the map. Okay, right there. So you'll see that, yeah. So Faraja, please come on board.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So what is,
you need
yeah,
you need to first introduce yourselves. What do you do? Which institution do you work for? And all that. Or you're a researcher, all that. Yeah. Thank you.
thank you very much. My name is Faraja Amri. I'm a Congolese citizen living in Goma, East DRC.
Yeah.
So I'm an exploration geologist as my background, academic background, but now I'm doing my master's degree in environment and wildlife conservation. And so I'm interested in this region. My research is focused on land use and non-covered land use of the North Kivu province, where we have as well the National Park of Virunga. So these data are so important for me because I want to understand as well what happened. But I think, first of all, the peak of fires that we have seen along years, the conservation plan for Virunga National Park includes, some of artificial fires that are being implemented in the park conservation so that we can have new widow grass for animals. We have, yeah, of course, we have different types of animals inside, which rely, on the grass, of the park. So they may fire all, for example, the west part of the park, so that animals may go to the east part, and then the new grass just are growing on the part where they put fire, and then after some months, 3, 4, 5 or 6 months, then animals will go once again to the west part, and then they may put fire on the east part so that new grass may come to foster, these animals. So this is the plan that is implemented within the park, and I've experienced it myself. This, in the past years, once I was crossing the park several times.
Awesome.
So this may be an explanation for the park.
Awesome.
Yeah. Second thing, we have as well armed groups that are operating within this park, and as well they are cutting wood, for this charcoal and something like that as the means of income generation activities for them,
Yeah.
And so you can see a lot of what can I say, a cloud of smoke, coming out of the park due to these activities by the armed groups, because a great part of this park is not controlled by the government. We have different armed groups that are working and are cutting wood as well, and also making this poaching activity. Yeah.
Awesome.
But as well, once we see, for example, from 2012, I think, or 2013, we have as well an increase of heat. Heat is natural heat is increasing. We have the increase of temperature in the region. So I think this may be one of the causes for this breakthrough of the greenness that we see, for example, from 2012, I think, and forward, onward.
Awesome.
Yeah. So these are the different elements that I'm interested in, because I need as well. My work is focused on the year 2000 to 2022. I want to see how land use and land cover evolved in the region, and as well hydro climatic data, especially temperature, moisture, and also water resources.
Yeah.
So especially I'm focused, on this Landsat data, but this GMS, I say it's very important for me, to integrate new data and interpretation as well. So that's why I'm very interested in mastering it, because it will help me, get different data. Because apart from Virunga National Park, in North Kivu, we have as well a part of Maiko National Park and Kahuzi-Biega National Park. So I think GMS will help me to have a wide glance of all these issues, and I think also it will be something important for me to ease, the interpretation, because when you go through the arc map and terset, MV, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit demanding, interpreting all this data. But GMS, I see it's a very workable tool that will help me, try to move forward with my research. So a little bit of what I can say about the Virunga National Park, but we have a very rainy season here in the eastern part of DRC. Even though we have heat that is coming, but we have a very rainy season, and where the National Park of Virunga, some parties, in the vicinity of the Rwenzori mountain, that is one
Yes,
of the
yes,
highest
yes,
peaks of Africa, and
yes.
it's always raining each day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Awesome.
that's
Awesome.
what I may explain a little bit about this phenomenon we are seeing here.
Awesome. Awesome. Nice. That was from Faraja. Faraja, thank you so much for giving us a very detailed information of what is happening on the ground, and as you see from Earth observation. So just to give you a tip as a student, that when you're doing land use land cover using Landsat data, you can't monitor the land use land cover changes for each and every year. So you're going to look at 2000, let's say, for example, you're going to look at 2000, 2010, and 2022. So those are the land use, land cover data sets that you will generate. Now, the land use and land cover data sets that you generate gives you the detailed classification of the different vegetation types, okay? Because you'll be able to know the grasses, you'll be able to know the trees or the forests, you'll be able to know all this detail, the water bodies and so forth. So that is very good for you to have that clear understanding of the different land use and land covers that is happening. But now when you come to look at the change, the change is very broad, because you're looking at how the land use and land cover has changed from 2000 up to 2010, and then from 2010 up to 2022. So it is very hard for you to know what has happened in between year 2000 and year 2010. Okay, you don't know exactly what happened, and you cannot explain it. Now, this is where the eStation becomes very important for you now, the GMES eStation, because you can now look at a long-term trend of how events were happening. And also you go much deeper onto the monthly, understanding the monthly, what has happened in between the year. So you're looking at the changes that has occurred, or you're explaining the reasons that could have caused the changes between the years. That is intra-annual analysis, but also you're looking at it within the year. Okay, so within the year, in terms of the monthly changes or the seasonal changes, then you can be able to tell that. Now, for example, I could come here and after I have selected for the whole year, I could say, okay, I want to only understand what has happened between March up to September. So with this graph interface, you can be able to change that. So all you do is you click on the products. Now we didn't look at the seasons, so you can now play around with the seasons and say, instead of the whole year, I want to look at information, in my case here in this analysis, from March. So I come here, March, and I say, okay. March 1st. So that is March 1st. And then I also look at from up to the month of, let's say, September for this Virunga area. September, remember, I'm working with, yes, I don't want to specify the years because it's just the season for the two selected periods. So now I am not looking at the whole stretch of the year. I am only interested in the period or the season, because now I'm trying to narrow down my analysis further by saying, you know what, I don't want to look at all the months in the year. It's very important that you look at all the months in the year, because that is very informative for you now to make a decision. Which season do I want to examine in particular? Okay, and through this you'll see how beautiful this comes out, and it shows you it go further and see how the NDVI versus the rainfall is playing through, okay, or the anomalies. So anomalies are very important because when you look at rainfall, if you're studying rainfall and its impact on let's say vegetation cover or the crops, it may not be very, very functional, because you are just looking at how much rain in the terms of the sum that has happened in the month, okay? But this really is very erratic, okay? Because this month might have 2 rain days or 3 rain days. The other one has 5. So, and again, another one has 3 or 1 or so. So it's erratic. Now, looking at anomaly now tends to say, from the total, how has this period changed for this particular one? Is it negative or is it positive? So it's more added analysis that has already been done on the data for you now to precisely explain that whenever there's a lot of rainfall, this is what happens to the vegetation. So, and that's why you're seeing I'm working with anomaly data, because I can simply be able to now visualize. If I put rainfall will be all the bars going up. That can allow you to explain a couple of things. But if you want to have an in-depth analysis, then you put anomaly, because anomaly now start explaining a little bit deeper onto what you're seeing in your analysis. Awesome. So yes, you can modify the season, or you go to products, and under the products, you modify the period. You specify that I want from that month. You can also type if you want to, and then you'll be able to have that. You can select the years from this end, okay? But you need to know the availability of your data. When is it available? From which period to which period, okay? And then also you can modify, you can select the period using these calendar icons, or you can just type if you want to, okay? Now that we have done some bit of analysis, I want to organize my graph. I need to change the periods here to not all the available years, but just for a few years. And let me go to 2022 and I go to 2010, because I don't want to have too much crowded information. It sometimes get too hard to explain things just because you have too much of it. As you're trying to analyze one part, you see another part and it becomes very confusing. So you can have something that is not so much crowded. So me, that's what I have. And what I want to do is to create space for another chart, which I have in here. And what I want to do is put it here, right here. So let me first reduce it so that it fits where I want it to fit. These ones are a bit larger, so I could also just reduce them. Okay. And maybe close this window first because I don't need it for now. So I have my charts here. And push this a bit up, push this a bit there. Okay, so if I have that and I have that, so all I do is mask it out and reposition them and zoom in a bit to show that that is actually where I'm doing the analysis in. So when you have something like this and you've prepared your workspace very well, remember we're still going through the process of working with the workspace. Now you can save this workspace. So you click on save here. There are so many savings. There's this save is for saving a workspace. Okay. Then we have this save. This save is to save this map. So this map, you save it from there. Then this other map, you can save it from here. And then for the graphs, also the save icons are there. So you'll have saved the matrix graph. And then also this one, you'll have saved this particular graph. So those are the options of saving. So if you want to save individual maps and graphs, you can use those saves. But now, what if you want to save all of them at a go? You want to say, you know what? I want all of them to be saved at a go. Remember, what you're saving is not the actual data. What you're saving is a template, okay? So a template is like a project in QGIS, which in the future, you can simply come and reopen that project. Or for those who are using ArcGIS Pro, you can save a project and then you can reopen it in the future and you can use it. And this is where the saving really comes handy. So I'm going to save my workspace. So you click on save, and then it's going to ask you what is the workspace name. So you give it any name. In this case, I'll give it Virunga National Park. Maybe analysis. Okay. And then you say, okay. Now, if in the future, I come and I log in and I have this already saved in my workspace, I simply go to my workspace here. Simply go to my workspace and then I check what content do I have in my workspace. So I click on my workspace. Me, I have two because I'd saved one earlier. So did I save it in my workspace? I need to check. So I could have saved it in my default workspace. I don't know where I have saved it. Did I? Oh, I forgot to click save. Oh God. All right. I lost it. After renaming, I just closed. I didn't click on save. But what you do, if you've saved it, you simply go to my workspace and then you can be able to restore your workspace. So for example, I have this practice. I can simply click on open and then it's going to restore all my workspace back to the interface, and I can use it to really do further analysis, or in case I have a presentation that I'm making, it's very simple. I can simply get back to my analysis and then I can open it. The other option is I can simply come here and export. Okay, I can export this workspace. And when you click on export a workspace, it creates what we call a JSON file. And all you do is with this JSON file, you click it, you send it to your friend. You simply send it to your friend, and your friend should also have an eStation. Okay, the moment they have an eStation, and let's say they are here, they have opened their eStation. If I had shared this in the group, I would simply come here, go to my workspace, and then I import. Okay, you first click on import that workspace, then you browse where the file is. So when you get the file, you download it, you'll have it maybe in your download, or you'll have saved it somewhere. And then you click on it, you click on open, and then you select to import it. So it will take a couple of minutes to import that file. I'm getting an error. What could be the issue? So I say, okay. Close. Why am I getting an error? Okay. It's open here, but it's in red. It shows that there was an error. I'm wondering why that error is there. Maybe I need to send this to the developer and they tell us. So it's bringing this error. You are trying to decode an invalid JSON string. Skip to the main content toggle navigation joined. Okay, I need to send this error to our developer, and so that they troubleshoot and see exactly why this could be happening. But basically, that's what is done. You simply import the file that you will have been shared, that somebody has shared with you, and then it should be able to open within the eStation here. Okay, but as you can see, the ones you will have created will definitely be available here, and you'll have them. Let me try with my local host and see if I can be able to import this file. Of course, I know I don't have all the data sets that the online system has. Okay, let me first start the service. I forgot to do this. So I go to all apps. I go to eStation and I start the service. So my service was off, and my external drive is also not in. So let me put it in so that I can be able to have my data linked to the system. Okay, so my external drive is in, and then I can simply come here and refresh. So what I want to do is try to see if using the locally installed eStation, this should be able to work. Let me do that. So normally when you start your eStation the first time after closing it, you'll see that the services are completely off. Like now mine is off. So there are two ways. You can go to the daemon master and start the services like the way we did. But also you can say, okay, using this interface, I can also start the services. So all you do is you go to UMedCast, you run, you go to internet, you run, under ingest, you run. So you need to make sure that in your dashboard tab, there is no red apart from this section. This section is red because you don't have the PC1 in your institution. So I've started my services. So simply what I do is I click here to refresh and my services are on. Since I've just put my external drive, I can also come to the processing and then click. I either restart my server or my processing, or I could stop it and restart it again. So it has showed that it has restarted. So now I can be able to go and first look at my data. Do I have my data linked to the system? Awesome, it's there. Now, all I do is I go to analysis, and I've already logged in to my analysis page. I go to my workspace, and then I import a workspace, the one that I had exported earlier. Let me see whether the issue, okay, that has worked. Did it? I didn't even see any complaint. Okay, import. It shows like it's doing it, but it doesn't. Ah, it's saying must be a GeoJSON file. So why did it create a JSON file without geo? This could be the issue. Okay, now I see the error here. So the file that has been created that I exported is a JSON file and not GeoJSON. Where is my extensions? Here, I need to enable extension. So it's a JSON file, not GeoJSON. This could be the reason. Yeah, it is. So let me do something crazy. It's not advisable, but yeah. Modify this file in a hardcore way. You see. Okay, I modified the file, but still. Okay, so I could open this file using. Let me do some coding here. So I have my Visual Studio Code, and I can open a file. And this file is a JSON file. And I could choose to save it as a GeoJSON file. Let me see if this works out. Yeah, but JSON is also GeoJSON, so workspace 2. Because I have the same file versions here, so save. Let's see whether our magic can happen. Okay. There. So I have the second file that I've saved here. Let me try this magic and see if this export can work. Oh, it's broken. I broke it. Okay. All right. So basically, that is how you can save and export and import your workspace. You could also just open a new workspace from here. So you click on new, and then you can start adding things onto that workspace step by step. Okay. Our time, we have very few minutes left. So let me use those few minutes to explain. I've already actually explained most of the things, but I want to just use this remaining 9 minutes. I'm very, very confident that at this point, you should be able to do this analysis with ease. You will not have any issue. at all with this analysis. So we talked about workspaces and we dwelled a lot about it. However, we have some exercises that you are going to use or do to be able to do your practice, okay? So these exercises, I've tried to format them in a way that you can be able to follow them step by step for your practical purposes, to practice, okay? And then the actual exercises are going to be in the group for day 4 and day 5. Now, those exercises, the first one will be for you to generate the seasonal analysis and the phenology analysis of one of the parks of your interest. So you're going to pick any of the park in your country that you want to, like for example, you saw the Lewis and Faraja, Dorothy, and Elias. They gave examples of their parks. Now, for you also, for your country, pick one park, and you're going to do analysis on that park to look at the seasonal analysis. So some of these, for example, for season analysis, you can use exercise 6 to help you generate for your park. You're going to be using the Cape Town example, but you can generate for your park using what we call the vegetation monitoring, which will allow you to do the first exercise for day 4. And then we have also the exercise of day 5. So the exercise of day 5 looks at the drought analysis. So exercise 4 will help you accomplish the requirements for exercise for assignment 2, which is for the day 5. Okay, so look at exercise 4 as something that should be able to help you generate or respond to assignment 2, which is of day 5. Okay, so use these exercises to be able to practice on how to use the online version of the eStation to accomplish what you need. But I want to emphasize that for institutions and for individuals that can afford to have all the archived data sets of the eStation, please try your best to see that you can come for it, because it will be very, very helpful for you in the future. If you have something in your institution saved, if the online system is not working or you don't have an internet connection, for some reason you don't know what happens, then you can be able still to run the analysis in that case. Now, for the first exercise, you'll do climatological evolution or precipitation over Nigeria, and you'll be able to learn aspects of seasonality cycles of precipitation in this region and so many things that you learn from that. Now, this is the page that you need to create to be able to have this exercise accomplished. My advice to you is to look at a few things. One, the graph that is generated here, when you look at it on the top here, it's a matrix. So that is a matrix graph. Now, when you're generating this matrix, focus your mind on the data set that was used. So the data set that was used to generate this matrix is ThermSat, 1 month, RIF to DIF to LTA. So it's a 1 month rainfall estimate, which is a difference from the long-term average. So you particularly have to select that data when you're creating this matrix. Number 2, we have two graphs here. One is a profile, and then the second one is also a rank. Now, there are 2 graphs. Profile graph, you already know how to create it, but the data that you're going to use for creating this graph is ThermSat 1 month rainfall estimate, which is a long-term average. So just make sure you select the right product or the right sub-product for generating this chart. But also for the ranking chart, you'll be able to select the right product or the right sub-product to generate. So be on the lookout for the name of the right sub-product for that. We have 3 maps here, okay? We have 3 maps here, and these 3 maps, the first one was generated using ThermSat rainfall estimate. It's a 1-month data, which is long-term minimum. So the name of the sub-product is right here, and also its period is there. So make sure you pick the right data or sub-product for your analysis for each of the graphs in here, okay? All right. So that is how you'll be able to accomplish this, this exercise. And what you do is you save your workspace as rainfall-Nigeria part 1, okay? So that will be the name of the workspace that you will be able to save. So create this from default so that you can be able to change to another area if you want to analyze or assess what could be happening for that. And this is the same thing that you're going to do for all the other exercises. You stay focused on the products or the sub-products for the maps or any chart that is being created for that exercise. So the next exercise here is going to be the same, but in this case, what is the difference? The difference is that the ranking is for a short period of time, rather for only June and July. The earlier one was for the whole year from January up to December for each of these years. However, for this one now you're focusing on only 2 months that you're changing. So how do you work through that? If I show you quickly what I did, is that when you're doing that, when you're doing the chart, you simply have to specify the season. So in this case, you only want from June and July, not for the whole January, Feb up to December. So that's how you modify this period, okay, for that exercise. So try to do those exercises to help you practice. Another exercise is looking at the Lake Haramaya in Ethiopia to look at how the changes has occurred over time. And the data that you'll be working with is the long-term average of the water and also the rainfall anomaly. So this is the example, or this is the chart, the workspace that you should create. What is very important is that stay focused, look at the products that they have used, and make sure you select the right product for use in that case, okay? Pick the right product for you to work with in all these examples that you have here. Now, if you look at here, the Lake Haramaya precipitation monthly anomaly, these are things that they were just typed. So you just type to them. You simply click on this icon to modify the information of this chart, and you will be able to achieve all this, okay? And also it applies with that. Then the fire and tree station anomaly, this is the example analysis that you're going to use to accomplish the day 5 assignment. So here you'll create the similar thing. The only difference is that the park that you'll be working with will be your national park, okay? This analysis is available in the reference workspace, but please, this is for your own good. You can decide to make it easy and you simply click on the reference workspace and you get this, or you can actually create it from step 1 to the last. That one I leave it to you. I believe that you're mature enough and you'll choose the right thing to do to make sure that you create this thing from scratch until you achieve, so that it's for your practice. I'm not going to mark the practical exercises that you will do. I'm going to mark the assignments, okay? But at the end of the day, it is you to benefit if you accomplish the assignments on your own, okay? So those are some of the assignments that the 5th and probably the last one should be the 6th. So for exercise assignment for Thursday or for day 4, you're going to be able to use this as a reference to be able to generate the product of your park, okay, of your interest. Here it's for Cape Town, but you should be able to generate exact workspace, but for your national park, so that you can have this shown. Okay, so thank you very much. My time should be up now. I don't want to take a lot of time. So this was all that I had for today, and thank you.